Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Good morning, Bob. How are you today?
I'm okay. I didn't think I was going to be here for a little bit. When I went to bed last night, I was like, oh, why did we not record this? But here I am, bright and bushy-tailed. Well, actually, just out of bed.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. We appreciate that. The listeners will be happy. Well, everyone, that's
hopefully the viewers, too.
Correct.
We sound old school when we call them listeners. It's
right.
Like
I forget
radio.
that
They can see us, Tom.
Yeah. Anyhow,
for
that's
better
Bob
or worse.
Graham, and I'm Tom Brush, and this is today's Antidote. This is our Saturday edition where we wrap up the week of our discussion, and we just try to bring that one thing each day to help you figure out how to move forward, to take that next step. And sometimes you won't use it today. Maybe you'll use it tomorrow, or maybe the next week, or 3 weeks down the road, or a year from now. And that information helps us be better prepared when those obstacles occur. We'll share our one thing, but we also hope that you will share your one thing, whether from this conversation or something else that you've experienced, because that helps everyone else grow and learn and start to figure out how to take that next step. So this week, we've been talking about results, which is a fascinating conversation. And I thought it was a really good week, as we kind of went through, what do we expect? What's real? How do we react? What to focus on? All those things, because for so many of us, results are really the outcomes of our hard work. And I think that's something that everyone pays attention to. And I think there are more things to learn from than maybe what we consider. What were your thoughts about this week, Bob?
I thought it was a great discussion. I was a little worried when we started the week that we weren't going to be able to talk about it for 5 days, but I actually think we could talk about it for another 5 days, because what we moved to in my mind is the idea of results are the most important thing and the only barometer of you moving towards your goal, versus the idea that I think we hit on yesterday, that results, whether they're positive or neutral or not positive or unexpected or completely expected, all of them go into the soup, into the pot, and helps you prepare a better meal for the next day. So just like when you're cooking a soup and you're like, oh, I've got a little leftover parsley, I'm going to cut that up and put it in there. And you eat it and you go, yeah, wow, that was too much parsley. Okay, next time, half as much parsley. I think that's how I'm looking at results now, that it's all information that can help us make a better soup tomorrow.
And isn't it also at that moment in time, right? And there's a conversation we had later, is that I can look at my results today and say, okay, this is what it is. Do I stop and look at it tomorrow or next week? Or do I go back and say, because I was having this conversation with someone, it's like, if someone gets added to your email list this year and they do nothing, at the end of the year, you'll be like, okay, well, that was, I didn't reach my dollar goal maybe, and these 10 people didn't do anything. Well, what if next year something hits, the right message hits them, or they are ready to receive what we've shared, and now they become a client? Do you ever go back and say, where did that client come from initially? They've been on my email list for a year and a half. Only now did they act. So is that a result of what you did this year? Is it a result of what you did last year? And I think that so often we are just like, I want to take a snapshot right now and know what the results are, without saying, let me go back and wait and look. And I think so often we maybe miss the opportunity to learn a little bit more if we continually look at and evaluate what are the results, not only what we're getting today, what we got 2 weeks ago. How does that compare? Did someone new open an email or decide to buy a product, and when did they first get on our list? So I just think that there's so many ways to look at results that can be helpful as we try to figure out how to best move forward.
Years ago, Tom, I met a woman, we had coffee, and we talked about our businesses, and I wasn't a good fit for her at the time. She got my emails every month. I had no idea. 2 years later, she called, I think I'm ready for your help on this big project. It was a huge project. It was great. So we went to coffee again. We're sitting at coffee, and she said, I've read every single one of your emails. In fact, let me show you something. And she pulled out her portfolio, and in the little folder were 2 of my emails underlined and like marked up, like she had read them closely. They were marketing strategy things. And she's like, we use this. And I was like, wow. So I had no idea. That's a result that I couldn't have possibly known until the day she shared that with me. And I like to think all the time that people are doing those things and we have no idea that someone's forwarding that email you sent them, or they're watching this program and going, oh, my friend was just talking about this. I've got to forward this to him, or I've got to invite him to this group, or whatever. And I think the more we can disassociate that immediate result with things, the better off it is. And what I try to think about more now, and I've really tried to do it this week, is what's my overall mission? If I'm working towards my overall mission, whether this program today is great or not so great, I'm still moving towards that mission. We're talking to entrepreneurs. We're helping them find their way. If it's one person, even if that one person today is just me,
right?
Hey, you know what? So be it.
Well, and who defines that? Who defines what great means?
Right.
It's one of those things that it's, is it good or bad? I don't know. Depends. Depends on who you ask. Depends on what their perspective is. Depends on how they're looking at it. And I think so often we get caught up in the result. And what I've really tried to realize is that we have little control over the result. It's usually someone else has to make a decision, at least in the business world. Somebody else has to decide. They say, hey, you know what? This is really interesting. I should be a part of this Facebook group, or I should buy this product, or I really need this service. So I'm going to take advantage of it. We can do everything we can. And so when we look at results, it's always good to think about, well, what can we control? Sometimes we can't control it. Now, if we keep doing things that give us results that aren't what we're expecting or what we would like to have, we probably ought to think about how do we modify that. And so that there's the opportunity to continue to grow. And that's the things we can control, right? Right. Those are the things we control, is the actions that we're taking, the information that we gain, how we understand and better try to analyze what we've done and how that's worked.
It occurs to me, Tom, as we're talking, that what we're really saying is there's never a moment where you can rest easy and say, I figured everything out, and now I can just do it the way I've always done it. You've always got to be evaluating, because everything's always changing. And I think I've dealt with some businesses, in the last couple of years where that was one of their things. They're like, well, we've always done it this way. Well, face-to-face meetings. I was dealing with the lumber company, and they're like, yeah, we do everything face-to-face. Well, now they can't. Their employees weren't prepared to use Zoom. They had to learn Zoom. They had to get comfortable with Zoom. They had to tell their clients that they were going to deal with them by Zoom or by phone. And they didn't like it at first, but now they're telling me, hey, you know what? We are making more calls and talking to people more frequently, and we're saving a lot of money on travel.
Right.
So that innovation that you've got, and it was one of those things where it's like, well, the results aren't the same because they were going out to people's locations and they're like, I'm not going to meet with you. Right. The door was shut and they were working from home. And it's like, we've got to adapt. And I think that's the extreme example.
Well, think about
lots of little ones in our lives, right?
If we keep doing things the way we've always done them, what does that assume?
That we've got perfect.
Or that we're right.
Okay.
And you know how I feel about perfect and right.
Yeah.
Is that, right for whom? And until we really stop and think about it, this is just what's real. So if we are not adapting and adjusting to our audience and how they're adapting and adjusting, if we're just standing still doing it the same old, I used to think that if you do the same thing, you get the same results. I'm actually starting to believe that if you just keep doing the same thing over and over, you're going to get worse results. The results are not going to be as effective because everyone else is changing and you're just staying the same. You're standing in this spot while everyone else is moving forward. So yes, some people are still not ready to move forward, but those are less and less.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what business evolution really is about. From going from I've got this idea in my head of what I want to do to help people to taking it out into the marketplace and then starting to see how people react to it and starting to morph it. You know, you're constantly shaping it. It's like a piece of pottery on the wheel that's spinning, you know. Now I'm thinking of Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. What's that movie? Ghost? Yeah. Ghost. Come on. It's Saturday morning, Tom, and we're doing this. You got to have some fun.
I know. You say that every week.
But making that, crafting that so it's perfect in that moment. And just like the soup, I was thinking, if I make the perfect bowl of soup today, if I did the same things tomorrow, it never tastes the same. I know. I make oatmeal every morning at 7 a.m. Some days it's too wet. Some days it's too dry. I do literally everything the same. It's a fraction of a change in water. It's a fraction of change in the oatmeal. But it's funny. A couple of months ago, I realized if I did it a different way, it was quicker for me. I could take a shower, put it in the microwave, and it would be on its way. And by the time I got done showering, it's ready to go. And it's like just not a big thing, but a huge time saver to me, because otherwise I was watching a pot, twiddling my thumbs, right, checking Facebook.
You're wasting time, right?
And so we've got to constantly look at that. And the funny thing to me is I fell into it one day because I was in a rush. I'm like, I got 3 things I got to do, and I'm just going to put it in the microwave. Turned out that was a great discovery. I got done, and I'm looking like, this is awesome.
Well, here's the other thing I started to think about this week about results. Is there is a lot of about perspective. You know, if you're in a business, you sell a product. And if somebody doesn't come back and complain, your perspective is you got really good results. They bought it. They were happy with it. They move forward. That's not always the case. Not everybody is going to come back and share their perspective. And what we think we might be doing great and getting great results, someone else might be thinking like, yeah, I don't see it the same way. You know, your product was okay, but it was more of a pain in the neck to go back to get it changed and replaced than to just be like, all right, I'm going to deal with what it is. But I'm not sure that I'm going to go back there because it's not what I was expecting. I didn't get the results that I wanted. So how we marry those two together so that we're getting the results that we would like, and our clients, customers, employees are getting the results that they would like. You know, I think about the leader who goes into and gives this really fired up speech about whatever and thinks, oh, that was awesome. And if they ever went and asked the people they were listening to, they'd be like, oh my God, one more of those pep talks that are the same thing all over and over again. And like, so I think that it's the other part of results, right? Is that there is typically something else on the other end. And what is their perspective about what it looked like, and how does that impact how they're going to act again in the future?
I love your idea of marrying what your expectations are and what your customers' expectations are. And even in a nonprofit, that would be the case, right? If I want to support, I don't know, brain tumors, and there's a group that does that, well, how are they supporting it? Are they supporting the research? Are they supporting the patient? Are they where is that connection? And if that's the right connection for me, then I support them. But if they're working on research and I want to help people who are in the hospital suddenly with brain tumors, there's a disconnect there. Not that either one is right or wrong. Right. It's just those results don't match up to what my expectation and desire is.
It's what's real for each of them. Yeah, we dealt with that all the time. You know, people would, I want to give to this. Well, we don't have that. And it's not part of our mission, and we're not going to add that, you know. So it's more like, how do we, and the same with the donor. Yeah, you might have a need for unrestricted giving. It's not necessarily what I like. I like to see tangible results. I want to see a piece of equipment something that I can sort of say, yeah, you know what, I know I supported that, not just even as badly as I know you need it, not just paying for the electrics, paying for the lights,
Right.
paying salaries. Like that's not, for some people, that's not what they're looking for. And so I think trying to, for me, that was a great learning experience about, yeah, they might be interested in giving to us, but if they don't want to support the things that we actually need, does this make sense? And how do we work to a point where we are able to marry what they're really interested in, what we really need, and how it can make a difference to the organization? And I think in business, that's the same way. How do we, usually we have more, if you walk into an auto supply store, you're not going to go in there and ask for a dishwasher.
No.
So there's a little, you have a little more instinct. And I guess it's the same with nonprofits. You wouldn't go to an organization that supports cancer and say, hey, you know what? I'd like to help find,
I'd like to have a cigar night.
Right. Right. Great. That's a great point.
Thank you.
All right. So as we wrap up this week on results, what is your one thing, Bob?
The results that we get are just information that we can use to improve things. No result is in and of itself perfection or failure, just more information. Can you believe I said that, Tom? Talk about me learning.
I can believe you said that because I believe that you are open to looking at things and not just always doing them the way you've always done them. So
okay, all right. But I feel like I stole your thunder. Now you have to come up with a new one, right?
No, I would just go with results for a moment in time. And
that's clear. I like that. Yeah.
That it's just, what we got today, is that the full story? And are there opportunities to look back and see, because we got this result today, it impacted what was going to happen in the future? And I think so we're not just giving up if we feel like one piece of the result isn't what we expected, that there are more things to look at and different times that we can look at them.
And Tom, when we talk about results, you and I do a really great networking event twice a month, and the results we look for and the results we get are far different than what people are used to when they go to networking events. Typically, they go and say, I'm looking for a customer. We build our networking events, and there is one right there. You can see Tuesday, February 9th. That's this coming Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You can go to this networking event, and our goal is not to get you a customer per se, but to get you into discussions that lead to additional follow-up discussions. The great feedback we hear almost every time from at least one person is, that was so much fun. I want to talk to everyone. That's what someone said to me after the last one. They texted me and said, that was the most fun networking I've ever had. I can't wait to talk to these people. I feel like I met a whole bunch of great friends.
Excellent. All right.
That's what we're trying to do. So that is Tuesday at 8:30. You can find more information on our Facebook page, the Ring of Renegades Facebook page. You can join that group. We'd love to have you join us. We are gathering, corralling, if you will, entrepreneurs, business leaders, and owners who are all trying to find their next step. And we have great discussions in that group. Everything from someone who's talking about firing a client and how to do it, and other people are talking about their great success over the week, and they're asking questions and they're sharing insights and information. We even have some really great quotes. All week we've had some great quotes about results. They've been real head scratchers to me a couple of days.
Yeah. Which is good.
That's good. Yeah.
It is good. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you are not a member of the group for Ring of Renegades, it is a private group because we're trying to create where you can have those conversations and not feel like the entire world is watching and or you're being spammed with all sorts of other things. To join the private group, you just have to ask. Ask to join, tell us why you're a renegade. And then you can be part of this growing community that's helping business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs, people trying to move forward on their own success, take that next step. So we hope we'll see you there. If not, we will see you on Monday for our next edition of today's Antidote. Here's some more information about that Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you soon.
carving your own path is tough. You want and need a community to offer you insights and advice, share inspiration, provide support, and save you time and money. But where do you find all that? Here's the easy answer: the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where leaders, entrepreneurs, and business owners identify their next steps. Here's some of what you will find at the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Just go to ringofrenegades.com and join today. Find and accomplish those next steps.